Hello everyone. We are going to talk about sources of water pollution. So what do you mean by water pollutions? Water pollution can be defined as alteration in physical, chemical or biological characteristics of water, making it unsuitable for its use. So there are various sources of water pollution. So first sources of water pollution is the municipal sources. So under municipal sources, various other sources are there. For example, sewer leakage. So poor workmanship, defective sewer pipe, breakage by tree roots in the sewer, ruptures due to heavy loads on the sewer, fracture from seismic activity, loss of foundation support, cause leakage and hence groundwater contaminations. Sewer leakage contributes high concentration of biochemical oxygen demand (BOD) and chemical oxygen demand, nitrate, organic chemicals and bacteria into the groundwater because of the leaching. So if sewer line serves industrial areas, that means if the sewer lines are going to pass through the industrial area, in that case, it may contain heavy metals such as arsenic, cadmium, chromium, cobalt, copper, iron, lead, manganese, and mercury, which may enter in the wastewater in in the in the sewer itself. So this comes under this sewer leakage. The next municipal sources is the septic system. Septic systems are one of the largest sources of pollution. A septic system, as we know, consists of septic tank made up of concrete, fiberglass, or polythene. In the rural areas, it is mostly used because sewer lines in the rural areas are not available. The people use the septic system. So poor construction of the septic tank or maintenance can release the bacteria, viruses, nitrate, phosphorus, chloride, organic substances in the groundwater. Even in hospitals, school shops, which exist in the rural areas, we must know this the waste generated from these hospitals, schools, shops are not connected with the sewer lines because it exists in the rural areas. So in that case, it may contaminate the groundwater by leaching. So next municipal source is the landfill. It is the oldest form and the most commonly method of solid waste treatment. Normally, what happens in this case, the household waste is buried in the lowland areas. So whenever the heavy rainfall is there, the leachate generated due to decomposition of solid waste from open dumps, sanitary landfills, solid waste composting sites, industrial refuse, and treatment plant sludges contaminates groundwaters. The greatest pollution problems occurs where high rainfall and shallow water tables are available. So what is going to happen once it is, because it is buried in the lowland area? So what are the different types of pollutants which going to contaminate the groundwater are the BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand, COD, iron, manganese, chloride, nitrate, hardness, and trace metals. See, during rainfall, what is going to happen? It is by leaching, it is going to contaminate the groundwater. But in case of surface runoff, it is going to cause the surface water pollution in the nearby areas or the nearby landfill site. So next we can see next sources of water pollution, industrial sources. The first one is the liquid waste. The major use of water in the industrial plants are cooling, sanitation, and manufacturing process. As we know that in the industries, the water is also used in the process. Cooling is also carried out. Cooling is also required in thermal power plants. So what it says that the quality of water which is needed by the industries depends upon the type of industries, right? So cooling water that is softened before used to inhibit scale formations. Normally, in case of thermal power plants, the whatever the water is going to be used, that is first softened so that it will not create the scale. What happens normally? It produces wastewaters with salt and heat as important pollutants during the softening process, we can say. So once the water is going to be raw water is softened to be used in the thermal power plants. So after treatment, the wastewater contains the salt and the it also contains the heat is also important pollutants, because once it is hot water is going to discharge into nearby surface water bodies, it may have impact on the aquatic life. When the industrial wastewater discharged into pits, ponds or lagoons migrates down to the water table. The next industrial source are the tanks and pipeline leakage. As you know, industry use underground storage tank transmission system for the different types of fuels and chemicals. So when structural failures is going to take place either in the tanks or the pipelines, it may cause the groundwater pollution due to leakage. And we know that petroleum and petroleum products are much responsible for such type of pollutions, which are stored in the tanks and also transported through the pipeline. Underground pipes may also burst while transporting oil, chemicals, cooking gas, and it may cause the groundwater contamination due to leaching. So next industrial source is the mining activities. During a mineral extraction carried out by the mining, interferes the aquifers and streams, because once we are going to for the mining activities or mineral extractions from the mine, what happens, as you know, the aquifers exist below the ground level are going to be disturbed, right? Interfere the aquifers and streams by contaminating with the heavy metals. These metals are consumed by men and animals through drinking water. Plants also take these metals through their roots. The plants useful to men and animals can influence their health, because plants has also taken the heavy metals and that plants we are going to consume. So in that case, it will have impact on the health. These heavy metals have been known to cause different kinds of sickness, including cancer in the man. Coal deposits, whenever we are going to extract the coal by mining, in the coal mining, in that case, what is going to happen? Coal deposits are often associated with the iron sulfide, which is called a pyrite. Once it is exposed while mining, oxidation occurs. That means after during exposure, it comes in in the contact of the atmospheres. So oxidation takes place. So oxidation of pyrite followed by contact with the water produces ferrous sulfate and sulfuric acid in solution. So once groundwater is mixed with this ferrous sulfate and sulfuric acid, pH reduces and iron and sulfate contents increased in the groundwater. So that means groundwater is going to be contaminated. The next point, whatever the old mine tailings are kept on the ground surface, that also causes the surface and groundwater contamination, groundwater contamination by leaching, and surface water pollution due to the surface runoff in the rainy season. So the water discharge during the dewatering, because for the mining purpose, as we know, dewatering is required, right, to make this surface dry. For the extraction of the coal, the dewatering is required. But the dewatering water contains the pollutants, which causes the surface water pollution. Next, we can see the agricultural activities. Under this heading, the first one is fertilizers and soil amendments. When fertilizers are applied to agriculture land, definitely some portion leaches through the soil and mixed to the water tables. Fertilizers normally consist of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Phosphate and potassium fertilizers are readily absorbed on soil particles and rarely cause a pollution problem, because it does not have leaching capability, leaching properties. But nitrogen in solution is only partially used by the plants or absorbed by the soils, But the remaining the nitrogen which is available in the solution form in the water causes the groundwater contaminants. It is called as primary fertilizer pollutants. So leaching of nitrogen from agriculture land is going to contaminate the groundwater. In addition, soil amendments also we use in the agriculture land. So soil amendments are applied to irrigated land time to time to alter the physical and chemical properties of the soil. Normally, as a soil amendments, we use lime, gypsum, and sulfur. Significant amount of leaching of this lime, gypsum, or sulfur may increase salinity in groundwater. So the surface runoff coming from the agriculture land also cause the surface water pollution. So next agriculture activities, which is also a source of water pollution, is the pesticide, insecticide, and herbicide which used in the agriculture land. So these pesticide, insecticides, and herbicides are the chemical. It is applied to control or destroy or mitigate pest. The presence of these chemicals, even in the minute concentration, can have serious impact on the potability of water. So surface runoff during rainy seasons will cause the surface water pollution. The impact of these chemicals on groundwater quality depends upon the properties of these chemicals, residue, rainfall, or irrigation rates and soil characteristics. Because the impact on the groundwater contaminations depend upon the soil character, whether soil is sandy soil, loamy soil, or the clay soil. On that also it depends. The next sources is the miscellaneous sources. Under the miscellaneous sources is the stockpiles. First one is the stockpiles. As we know, the solid materials are frequently stockpiled near the industrial plants, which may be in the form of raw materials or in the form of a product also. Even at the construction site and large agricultural operations, the materials are stocks, solid materials are stockpiled or stored there on the ground surface. These materials are stored, which may be awaiting for the use, or they may be solid waste placed on the ground surface for the temporarily. It might be placed temporarily or for the permanent. In that case, during the precipitation or when rain falls, in that case, it may contaminate the surface water quality and groundwater qualities. Groundwater by leaching and surface water pollution due to the surface runoff in the rainy season. The next we can see under the miscellaneous sources, which is also a water source of water pollution, the roadway de-icing. Roadway chemicals, as we know, the chemicals are applied to highway pavements to accomplish three things, to achieve three things. The first, to prevent the formation of ice on the roads in winter season, melt ice that has formed and prevent buildup of a snowpack. So normally, for the de-icing purpose, we use the salt. The sodium chloride is the mostly used as a de-icing chemical because of its relatively low cost. Its melting effectiveness diminishes below minus 6.7 degrees centigrade, which stops or cages at minus 21 degrees centigrade. In addition, calcium chloride are also mixed, can increase the melting effectiveness and reduce quantity of salt used. That means CaCl2 can also be mixed with the sodium chloride. Salt storage facilities is the major contributing source of local groundwater and surface water contaminations and vegetation damage. Because once you are going to use the salt for de-icing purpose, we have to go for the storage. So in that case, these storage facilities at the site also cause the contaminations, water contamination, water pollution. High chloride concentration is found in roadway runoff contaminating the roadside wells. Also cause vehicular corrosions, roadway damage. These salts causes these problems. Application of de-icing salts to streets and highways also cause the water pollution in the winter seasons. These are the chemicals, salts which are going to contaminate the water resources, water sources. So next, miscellaneous source is the seawater intrusions. Seawater intrusion means also called as saltwater intrusion, is the process by which seawater enters into the coastal aquifers, leading to groundwater contaminations. It normally how it happens. What are the reasons? It occurs when the natural balance between fresh groundwater and seawater is disturbed. That means the seawater adjacent to the seawater, the fresh water is available. In that case, if the balance is disturbed, in that case there will be, that means the pressure difference, the seawater intrusion will take place in the freshwater system. So seawater intrusion normally contributes to groundwater contaminations either due to the following reasons. What are the reasons? Here we can see the first one is the uplift and subsidence. Uplift means vertical land movements caused by tectonic activity or glacial shifts and human practices. This may also cause the subsidence that directly impact groundwater flow and the extent of seawater intrusion. The another points under this heading is the convergence and divergence also takes place time to time due to the movement of tectonic plates, which can change the direction or speed of the groundwater flow, enabling the seawater intrusions. The next point you can see here is strike slip deformations. That means horizontal movements of earth crust can create pathways to enter the seawater into the aquifers. Another terms we can see here, transgressive activities. That means marine transgressions. Transgression means a rise in sea level is the flooding of coastal areas and low-lying areas nearby the sea. As the seashore line moves inland, seawater pushes into freshwater ecosystem, including surface water, river, wetlands, and subsurface groundwater. So that means the seawater intrusions not only going to contaminate the groundwater, but also the surface waters. So in this topic, what we discussed, sources of water pollutions. What do you mean by water pollution? What are the various sources of water pollution? Example, municipal sources, industrial sources, agricultural activities, miscellaneous sources. So under these sources, various points also we discuss in these lectures. Thank you.